right? So it's a collective action. Now you tell me, this is one kind of action that we're talking about, planting trees in a neighborhood. Now, suppose you have decided that you are going to plant trees in your neighborhood and your friend gets inspired by it, okay, living in some part of the country, and she or he puts it on the social media. And then you have different organizations who got, who would get inspired by this initiative, and they would also start planting trees in their neighborhood. So what is happening? And then after 5 years, you will get reminded, okay, something of this sort took place, as some kind of an action. Let's regenerate it. Let's recreate. Let's redo it. So what is happening in this example? What is happening? If I say that you're planting trees and somebody after a month gets inspired, a friend of yours, and then they do it in their cities, then somebody gets inspired and they do it after a few weeks in their cities, and then even after 4 or 5 years, you still have that very fresh in your mind, in your memory, and you recollect and you take inspiration from that action and you recreate it. What do you say? You imitate that action. So what is happening to this kind of a social action? It is sustaining over a larger period of time. A collective action which sustains over a larger period of time will become a social movement. One of activities, sporadic, incoherent activities in sociology, it is called as a collective action. The moment it sustains over a period of time, it is known as social movement. Now somebody gave the example of Nirbhaya protest. Why is it a protest and not a movement? If you Google it, that's how it is registered. Nirbhaya protest. They will not call it movement. Why? Do we call it Nirbhaya movement? No. Then why? Exactly. It took place for a very short period of time. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and within a year it had all its consequences in terms of legal changes, in terms of mostly socio-cultural changes, etc., etc. So it is a protest. But is Nirbhaya protest a part of a larger feminist movement? Could be. You can say Indian contemporary feminist movement, which is taking place, which has been taking place for a long period of time. Me Too movement will come under it. But then we call Me Too movement a movement. Why? Because it is not specific to India. It has traveled all the way from US, and it has also inspired different parts of the world. It started at one time and it is existing even today. Right? So what is happening with social movements? It sustains over a longer period of time. It might have those, its phases of inaction. It might have its phases where it would go completely dormant in nature. But if it recuperates, if it recovers, if it regenerates, and it is the same kind of movement, then it will be known as social movement. Clear? Collective action which sustains over a longer period of time, like anti-hijab. Anti-hijab is a movement in Iran, but anti-hijab protest to 2022 is a protest. Why? Because this movement has been taking place since 1970s. 1970s was the time when hijab was made compulsory in Iran. Since then, it is not the first time that in 2022 there is a protest, or there was a protest. Many protests, number of protests had taken place before this. In 2014 and 9, in 1980s, 1990s. So all these protests are a larger part of anti or anti-hijab movement in Iran. So the movement has been existing for a large period or for a long period of time. It has sustained over a larger or a longer duration. That's why it becomes a social movement. This is one of the basic reasons or the basic feature of social movement. Is it clear? So a collective action that sustains over A longer period, we'll do few more examples, you'll understand. A longer period of time becomes a social movement. Becomes a social movement.
Like collective action, we are not considering the goal or the consequences. We're just looking at how the period of time it is.
No, no, no. Yes, goal. See, a movement which is for a shorter period definitely will have a short time goal or a short term objective.
Yeah, but Nirbhaya protest, it
Hmm.
like I don't think it is still a short term period. Like the
Huh.
goal wasn't short term because still when
No,
the
that was a
protest happened,
consequence. The goal was immediately to punish the
the
perpetrators. If you look at, if you study Nirbhaya protest, you know, and by study I mean if you study the pictures. Today, of course, we don't have any other evidence but the pictures. You know, there is, I think there are many pictures on Google of how the protest unfolded. And if you see there were very basic demands that you punish the perpetrators. Much later, we started talking about, you know, other things like there has to be changes in law, etc., etc. But the immediate goal was punish the perpetrators because it was a very heinous nature of crime. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? That it will have a, I mean, it did, I won't say the objective was short term, but what they demanded was very immediate. It had a larger consequences different. You understand the difference between objective and consequence. You can have a different goal, it could have a different consequence altogether. But it is always seen as a protest. We don't see it as a movement. We see it as a part of a larger feminist movement which otherwise is